username here. I have a trade review from February 3rd, 2023. I'm doing a video review of a fairly in-depth review I did that I posted on Twitter of a trade on SPY shortly after open. There's a lot of information in there. If you didn't see it on Twitter, go ahead and check it out there. But there's a lot of information there, but there's a lot of more that I couldn't really put on a documented thing without making it a book. So a lot of times when I do that, I'll try to make a video and see if it's better. Sometimes I do videos and I don't even post them. I complete them for myself just so I can talk myself through them. It honestly really helps me out. So I really get a lot out of these in-depth reviews. So this one I'm sharing with you. If you need to run it at 1.5 or 2.0, 2x speed, feel free to do that. I'm going to try to make it as quick as I can, but there's definitely a lot to get through. So I'm going to go ahead and start. So this is what the chart would look like when I first opened it up a little bit after 8 a.m. on Friday. We had news coming out at 8:30 and again at 10. And, so those are expected to be influential in the markets, not just there's news every day, but it was economic news that we were expecting to be make a difference. So this was the screen, and I'm just going to walk through. Usually I'll do previous day high, low, close, and I'm just going to mark the ones that were actually important to me. The thing I saw first off was prior day low was huge, because if you look at this, it was tested several times in extended hours and it held through the whole thing. So this automatically tells me this is going to be a pivot. The previous day pre-market low could also be like a retest area, or could be an area that was going to be in play. So we've got that, and then the other area that I noticed, we were right up to this 415 area, and if you look at things from the day before, Thursday, you can see that this 415 area was also an area that had a lot of movement in it. So we had some pre-market stuff here. We bounced and shot through it. We used it here, and then in extended hours again. So in extended hours, we really had some strong levels between this 415 and 413. So coming into the news, those to me look like interesting areas. And then we also had this, I'm just going to move that. I've got it to snap. But this bear flag looking thing here, depending on what it would do in this 415 area, it could be a bear flag that would break, or it could be melt up, just like we had over here. We tested it, and then we shot right back up through that 415. So we have, these were areas I had identified as interesting areas and that we could possibly play off of. Now, at the same time, the news could shoot us up to a double top, and we might bleed the rest of the day. So there were a few things. So let me just kind of fast forward through what we saw next coming into the news, and with the news, it dropped down. I'm going to go right up to the last candle before open. So what we had here was this was a bear flag that broke down, and it gapped down in that news. So we shot right through this 413 that had held up so well before. So the first thing that I thought of now was, and I even posted it pre-market, it would be really clean price action if we would come up, test the 413, and then bleed the rest of the day. So that's kind of what I had set myself up for trading, was just to kind of play that. And as we opened, we shot directly up and directly past that. So that kind of, now I'm looking at, well, maybe we reverse off this level, and the next logical place would be to reverse off the top. But by the time you get up there, you got to read the price action. So what we did here was off of open, we curled way up, we shot up. This is kind of a reset candle, similar to the same place this one was. And definitely above the 413, so we held the 413. This was us holding the 413, and we did it on increasing volume. So we got a bit of a fight here as we're deciding what we're going to do. Definitely could be some orders up here that are still sitting there waiting to fill after the big news. So shoot up again, and we do retest this area. We retest that just about to the penny. But what this is telling me, though, is that buyers are definitely in control. Also telling me there's a lot of volatility because we're testing right between those two levels. In that 5-minute candle, we tested between both of them. But it doesn't really look like a reversal yet, so, we got to wait. Next candle, that is a reversal candle, honestly, but there's still so much volatility in that. And the volume wasn't more, it wasn't really less, it wasn't really more, so it's still not telling us anything. So far, all we know is we've got a decent amount of volume coming in, and we're not going to know anything until we figure out the same thing that I had, before Premarket had said, which was this 413 area is going to be an interesting area if we can hold that. So let's go to the next candle, and we have decreasing volume here. So we shoot up, we have decreasing volume. Now there's two reasons for that. Number one, we got news at 10, and this is the 9:55 candle. So the next candle is going to be where the news comes out. But number two, buyers were in control, and the retest of sellers being on lowering volume tells you they're going to continue to go up. So this is starting to flip the story. Next candle is our 10 o'clock candle, where we had a huge fight, really volatile. Lots of movement on that candle, and I just sat and watched it. I wanted to get into shorts there because it was so, it was second bad news and it was violent again, but I didn't. And if you see the volume was huge there, but it was a doji, so it doesn't really tell you whether that was red or green or white. So when I see something like that, I count that as white volume. I count that as a white candle, even though it's not, technically white. We're in the middle. We got shadows on both sides. But here's the other reason why it starts to turn bullish. So we've got a retrace on lowering volume. We've got this huge fight here off bad news, but this bad news, in combination with this bad news recovered. We retested that breakout, and we start heading down on lowering volume, and then we have more bad news. Expectations were worse than expected, but it doesn't even get down to the first bad news level. So this tells me that the buyers are still in control, or that you have to watch for buyers to be in control. We still didn't break below the prior day low. So this is really telling a story where bulls are still in control. So this is where you got to start flipping your bias a little bit. Next candle, reversal candle. So now we got two lower wicks that are, really sizable lower wicks. We've held that 413. So this is where I start getting my calls ready. And this is where I also identify this cup and handle looking flag here. So this is definitely a bull flag. We pop up and we're bull flagging here. Decreasing volume, big fight on the news, reversal candle. And what did I do? I got in as this candle closed. It closed as a reversal. I got in here. And the next candle shoots up. So now you see this cup and handle is playing out. So that's kind of like the setup and the entry. But let me actually move back over to Chrome here and show you Tradezella, which is a really cool thing. It integrates with Thinkorswim, some other platforms, and it brings your trades in, and it lets you see them, where you got into them and everything. Lets you replay them in real time. Lets you categorize your setup, your mistakes, some custom tags. It gives you a summary. So I got 30 contracts. I think these were at the money. I don't know if these were 413s. Let me actually go down here and see. 414s. So they were $1 out of the money. They were this contract up here. Tells you I got a 31.76 net ROI, so that's after expenses, and then the gross P&L and the adjusted cost of my trade. But here's where I got in and everything. This level was my first scaling point, because this was that 5-minute fight candle. If you see here, the 10 o'clock, this was that 5-minute fight candle that went high to low, and we ended up about in the middle again, the doji. So this was going to be my first scale point, because if they were fighting through this, and if they weren't done fighting, it could reverse in this range or just above it. If we had sellers just above this range, I didn't want that to be a risk. So I started scaling out here. I scaled out two different times, one at 143 and one at 162. I got in at 129, I think was my average. So that was net those out to 153. That's a 20% gain on that. Now, I did put a mistake over here, scaled out early. I shouldn't have taken 2/3 out right here. I had rising volume up here. We had decreasing volume and then rising volume on the pop. I should have held that. We didn't even get a really big retrace here. I kind of should have held that, so I should have maybe gotten out of 10 and then maybe 5 as we ran up, maybe 15 total at this 20%. But the next spot was going to be the top of the consolidation. So my first spot was here, next spot was the top of the consolidation. My measured move is this measure from the consolidation. So if I clone this and then drag the other one over here to the breakup. So my measured move on just this little flag is going to be somewhere in this range. So that's why I was out most of them here. On the bigger cup and handle, it would have been between 416 and 417, but just on this one, I wanted to be out of most of them here. So 2/3 out here, and then I took a couple off here, one off here, one off here, and then on this candles we were going back, we were kind of overextended from my measured move, so that's when I took out a bulk of these and left one to run and got that out pretty close to the top. So that's kind of how the trade played out. If you can see that the cool thing about this is you can see how where you were at as each minute went by, and I was a couple minutes in, I'm already up $900. I've already scaled out, and then it my peak at 1281 and I ended up at 1269. So that's not bad. What you don't want to see is a peak up here and then it you come back down to $900 or whatever. So this was kind of a growing thing the whole time. Nice there. These are each of the scales. So I got in, these three are where I got in. You can see 10, 20, 30 contracts total. And then I go back down to 20 and then 10. So you can see I was in it for a couple minutes from almost 10, 11, a minute and a half to 2 minutes, and I'm scaling out my 2/3 of it. So in terms of easy to trade after that, this was a trade that was easy to manage after we made the pop. I didn't like this retrace here. It wasn't. I didn't like it there. But we held the 413. That was my kind of trigger. If we would have had a 1 minute close below that 413, I would have gotten out of this. But we went down. We popped right back up, and so it was. After this candle, after we made some moves with volume, I did get into it a little bit early, but after we made some volume, then it was a very easy trade to manage. I'm very conservative, so I manage it conservatively. But that was a good trade in general. I like this trade. If I can get 30% on every trade, to me that's all I need. I'm every once in a while I'll have one that I'll hold to. Well, and I held this top one here to 197%. But I'm not the guy that's going to hold, get 30 contracts and hold 20 of them to 300%. It's just not me. I'm more conservative than that. And my background is in scalping. I'm trying to make this, and this was basically a scalp. I was in them. I was in this this is the replay feature. I was in this for 13 minutes and 37 seconds from beginning to end. So, that would be an ideal trade for me. Something that moves and moves in one direction. That's what I like. So for me, this was an ideal trade. I wouldn't say that my trade rating, I gave myself 3 out of 5 stars because I don't like the retrace here. I got into it a little bit early. I don't like the retrace, and I don't like that I scaled out of 2/3 of it here. I should have scaled out of maybe 1/3 and then 1/3 up here and let the rest run, or maybe 15, maybe half at this first spot. But I don't know. There's always things you can work on. So this is a really cool tool, though. But that's kind of what my thought process was. If I go back to the Thinkorswim here, the volume was telling us stuff through here. We were still getting volume that was increasing on this way up, even though we were fighting here. This was pretty big through here, but we were still getting increasing volume there to the top. Man, I don't know why it won't do that. So, and then this is a clean reversal candle here, and then it reversed. So I mean, the price action here was clean. And what I said was it would be what I wanted was a really clean price action day, and what we got was a really clean price action day. Especially with the news that came out, this was not a substantial candle for the news that came out for bad news. It was absolutely a clear indicator that we were bullish. So, yeah, I was hoping for a nice, clean price action day, and we got it and took advantage of it. So, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or hit me up on Discord or Twitter. And other than that, I'll see you next time. Thanks.